Hello and welcome to Game 2 of this NCAA Division III Regional between the Trinity University Tigers and the Laverne Leopards. As you see on the screen, Trinity leads this best-of-5 series 1-0. Hello and welcome to San Antonio, Texas. My name is Cole Isaacson, and I'm joined alongside my partner Luke Terry. And Luke, it was a wild Game 1, 37 combined hits, an 18-19 final score, Trinity taking the first game of this series.
Yeah, and it was a ton of offensive output for both sides. Unless you joined us yesterday, I don't think it indicates just how well Trinity had that one in hand. If you look at that line score, you'll see Tigers jumped out to a very early 16-0 lead in the third inning. They pulled their ace last year and this year's pitcher of the year in the SCAC Jackson tier. He only had to go 3 innings. All of the damage that Laverne did came off of Zach Balbin, who ate a lot of innings, nearly took it all the way to the finish line for Trinity. But they definitely saved some valuable arms. On the other side, Laverne didn't necessarily have to waste any of their high-leverage guys either, considering how much that game was out of hand.
You see the lineup for Trinity on the screen that will attempt to take a 2-0 lead. Maddox McDonald leading it off in right, followed by Baker playing short. Lazara doing DH position today instead of catching. Christian Holloway at first base, followed by Colt Harris, Ty Preston in left, Kai Tinker at third, Jack Peterson hitting 8th and center, and Matthias Riding making his first postseason start of his Trinity career. And then on the mound for Laverne, it's Nico Urquidy, the first year from Murrieta, California, making his 18th start of the year. All SCIAC 2024, the Newcomer of the Year award winner in that conference.
Yeah, it's really no surprise when you see the numbers on your screen. 3.2 ERA is very, very solid, but I think the whip's even better in the strikeout to walk ratio. 92 Ks and just 70-plus innings. Really, really good numbers for Urquidy, and they're going to need a stellar performance out of him on the mound today.
We're officially underway in Game 2 as McDonald takes strike 1. Pitch away, and it's 1-1. McDonald started in right field yesterday, hitting in the 9-hole. Like every other of his teammates, was able to get a hit. This is a grounder to short. Throw to first in time, and a quick first out for Urquidy.
Yeah, not something we saw very frequently for Laverne yesterday. I want to say it was at least the first 4, maybe 5 innings where Trinity had their first hitter, their leadoff guy, reach base safely. Maddox McDonald slides into that role today for the Tigers, and he can't continue that trend. That's exactly what the Leopards want. Nice job, good solid start for the freshman on the mound out of Laverne.
Now Jack Baker, the number 2 hitter up. Baker playing in short today. Takes strike 1. His first at-bat was a sacrifice bunt to move the leadoff man Caleb Woodward to second. Laverne would not record another out in that first inning until after his next at-bat. Softly grounded to third, and a quick 1-2.
And it's been 2 starts for this Laverne team and 2 lefties on the mound. Yesterday it was Peterson, who just got that one out off the bat of Jack Baker via that sac bunt. Got lifted from the game in that first inning. A lot of damage done against him. But already in the early going, can tell there's a visible difference, mainly in the velocity between Peterson and Urquidy, who is a lot firmer with his deliveries so far to start here in Game 2.
The 3-hole hitter, Nick Lazara, takes ball 1. Lazara, one of the best Tigers in terms of average this season, hitting .352 coming into the series. Pitch away, 2-0.
Far the fastball's looked really good. Feels like he has nice control of that pitch. That last at bat against Baker, he put it in on the hands of the Trinity shortstop. But realistically, it's that breaking ball. Yesterday for Peterson, a big looper, much firmer from Urquidy so far, and I feel like that has been a big difference, and it's induced a couple of soft, weak ground balls on the infield.
Urquidy's last start saw him go 7.2 innings pitched against Kowloon, only giving up 3 earned runs. Pitch high to make it ball 3. Really the first hitter's count we've seen in this first inning. Lazara dragging out this at-bat.
Yeah, not something we even saw a lot of yesterday either.
Strike called, full count.
For a baseball game that was as high scoring as the one we had on our hands, there weren't a lot of free passes. Everything was earned for both of these squads.
Only 4 total walks in that game, and as we mentioned earlier, 37 hits. Fouled back in the screen, and we'll do it again.
And a good fight. I think that's exactly what you're going to anticipate from both of these guys. For Urquidy, sitting down the first 3 would be huge. Verne picked up a lot of momentum in the back half of yesterday's game and certainly would like to get off the field quick.
Inside, ball 4, and the first base runner for Trinity.
Yeah, just about the perfect spot for that one right there. Breaking ball that catches a lot of the zone as it's traveling there, but the last second, that little bit of movement brings it too far in on the hands of Lazara. Talk about it a lot here on Tiger Network. Nick Lazara, typically the everyday catcher. He's DHing for Trinity in what is going to be a doubleheader today. Has great discipline at the plate and takes a lot of pitches right off of it.
The cleanup hitter, Christian Holloway, takes strike 1. For those of you who are usual viewers, seeing Holloway, he's number 5. He wears that on the road. At home, he's number 6. Pitch away, and it's 1-1. Another distinct difference today is that Trinity comes in as the road team. That's how it works in this best of 5. Verne will be the home team in Game 4 again if we get that far. Trinity will be the home team later today in Game 3. Pitch nearly gets away, but not enough to move Lazara.
Yeah, but it is unique in this format that the Game 5 is decided by a coin flip. I understand, fairness of it, but also NCAA is determining host sites, and you would imagine more often than not the host team would have that advantage, but that isn't the case here in these 5-game series.
Waves at that one, and it's 2-2. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when I heard that. You have kind of similar to Major League Baseball, a best-of-5 series, and the home team is designated there at the beginning. I assume the same would be here, but not the case. 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Urquidy gets around the leadoff walk. 0 on the scoreboard in the top of the first. We'll see what happens in the next frame when we come back. Welcome back. Bottom of the first here in San Antonio, and here's the designated home team's lineup. Laverne, Benny Vogel leads things off as the DH, followed by Ryan Vasica. Matthew Diaz in center field, still maintaining his .400 average. Logan Reese in right, followed by Nathan Perry doing the catching. Noah Garcia, who had a 4-hit game yesterday, followed by Aiden Salcedo, Jason Givens, and then Anthony Salcedo at second base in the 9-hole. And on the mound for Trinity, it's Joseph Shavana, who fires strike 1 right down the middle to Vogel. See Shavana's numbers on your screen. Win-loss total of 7-3, ERA right around 1.5. That whip about 1.4. Gets a sharp grounder to Baker. Throw to first in time. And there's one down quickly.
And a good start for Shavana, trying to match his counterpart, Urquidy, on the other side for Laverne. Quick at bat right there. A Laverne team that certainly got hot yesterday in the back half of that game. A lot of solid contact, a lot of balls driven deep into the outfield. Showed some more pop than we anticipated in this series. Left the yard. Team that coming into this weekend had only done so 11 times.
Now Ryan Vasika up. Takes strike one. Vasika hitting over 360 coming into this game. It's a part of that Laverne offensive resurgence that we saw later in the game. They're already down 16-0, but they still combine 17 hits.
Yeah, I mean, there's always some questions with that. How do you feel about a team really getting going and teeing off, just getting more comfortable in a different setting, right? They flew into San Antonio this week, had one day to practice. A little bit of a slow start in game one, but have to imagine that plays to their favor, just how well they hit over the course of late innings yesterday. But things, of course, change going against now Joseph Shavana. Not the ace on this squad, but when you have numbers as good as his, it takes a really good arm in Jackson Tier to pitch him out for that job.
Rounded sharply past the dive of Holloway and then past the dive of Harris again. So the first hit of the game for either team belongs to Ryan Vasika.
We'll see a replay of it right here. A nice location from Shavana. Looked like it was maybe that breaking ball, trying to spot it down and away. Caught a little bit too much of the plate, perhaps, but not a lot you can do with that as a hitter. Vasika, though, puts it in a good spot, good pace on the baseball, and Trinity, of course, can't field it cleanly.
Shavana now goes against Matthew Diaz. Diaz, the best hitter on this team coming into the series, hitting over 400. Pitch in the dirt, and it's 2-0. Diaz, a junior from Rancho Cucamonga, California, making his 42nd appearance of the year. On base percentage of .439 coming into this game. You know, Luke, some things changed around the top of this Laverne order. Weren't really able to get the number 1 and 2 hitters going, but the number 3 hitter, Matthew Diaz, remaining the same.
And I think there's really no surprise there. Mentioned that on-base percentage, that batting average, up over 400 coming into this weekend. One of the most dangerous hitters in this region, but I would add on top of that, one of the most dangerous hitters in the country as a whole.
Pitch inside, and he loses him with a walk. So back-to-back base runners reach for Laverne, and there's 2 aboard with 1 out.
Now with that start, it looks like we're going to get a visit from pitching coach Dave Smith. As we started this inning, had a little bit of an opportunity to talk about Joseph Shavana. Clearly his numbers flashed on the screen. And it's good stuff. 1.5 ERA, a whip that just about matches it. I think the one thing that sticks out is that strikeout to walk ratio. Good strikeout numbers, not necessarily what he's trying to do on the mound. I think trying to induce that soft contact, but in the process of doing so, I think he struggled at times this year with his command. And right there, 4 straight pitches outside of the zone, free pass that now has Laverne in really prime opportunity in inning number 1.
First pitch to Logan Reese misses low. Another part of this Laverne lineup that's remained the same. Reese hitting .365 on the year with 35 RBI. That's tied for the team lead. Pitch misses inside, and it's 2-0.
It just feels like Shavana operating a little bit too low in the zone. From our vantage point, I've seen Writing try and snap his glove up a number of times. A good adjustment right there. Goes to the breaking ball in a 2-0 count. You know, with 6 consecutive balls, I don't think that Reese is swinging one way or another right there. So just to get me over pitch, even lower velocity, exactly what Shavana needs to get himself going.
Finds the strike zone on that one, and it's 2-2.
Same thing, back-to-back pitches, that breaking ball. Puts him squarely in this count. He can really do whatever he wants right here.
Ground ball, could be 2. Harris flips to second, throw to first. Got him in time. The stretch by Holloway ends the inning. Exactly what Joseph Shavana needed. The inning-ending double play to send us to the second. Top of the second in San Antonio, Nico Urquidy back on the mound for his second inning of work. And leading off the inning will be the number 5 hitter, Colt Harris. Harris, no stranger to the postseason. This is his 3rd consecutive year serving an important role on a team that's trying to make a deep playoff run. He's a starting second baseman on that team that went to the College World Series in 2022. Last year, Trinity advancing deep into that regional in Marshall, Texas, and now finds themselves in a 5-game series against Verne. Lined up the middle, and the first hit for Trinity.
And that's a heat seeker right there. Urquidy kind of straightens up on the mound, making sure that this one doesn't catch him. We saw that yesterday for this Verne pitching staff. A hard hit ball. I think it was off the bat of Christian Holloway that caught, I believe Noel was in the game at the time in relief, square in the foot. Almost the same outcome right here. See him stick that glove out, do what he can to protect himself. But good start here. Hit number 1 on the day for this Trinity offense.
Brings up Ty Preston, who had a scorching start, but this time he's going to bunt. Got popped up into the air, and the catch is made by the third baseman, Salcedo, for out number 1. Not what you want to see out of a bunt attempt.
No, and a wasted opportunity right there. Preston stalks back to the dugout, tosses his bat to a teammate. Looks like this one just gets in on his hands a little bit. Rather than pulling back the bat, trying to see another pitch, maybe a little bit more so in the strike zone, goes ahead with the effort to put that one down, and it backfires on him.
Brings up third baseman Kai Tinker. Throw to first, not in time.
Hey, Nicole, I want to just briefly go back. The play that ended the home half of the first, double play ball. Saw a really good angle of it in the replay on your screens at home. Bang, bang play over there at first. And with that, I think a reminder that in this postseason format, teams do have challenges. We saw Verne challenge a play out in left field yesterday. They opted not to do so. It was really close. I think it was probably the right decision to hold off. Still very early in this one, and given the call on the field, probably too close to overturn.
1-0 pitch. High, 2-0. You know, the interesting difference between Major League Baseball and this situation is that each team gets 2 challenges. So if you want to opt to challenge a close one early, kind of like they did yesterday with that play in the left field corner, you can do so and still have a challenge. Pitch away, and it's 3-0.
Yeah, it is fairly interesting that there is basically no punishment. You get two, that's the deal. I think smart yesterday they decided to use it. You know, you don't know how the rest of this game is going to play out. Still the first inning. I think you get another one in the next inning or two. It's probably time to use that first of the day.
Pitch high, and that's a 4-pitch walk to Tinker. It'll move Harris to second, and there's 2 aboard for Trinity.
And a fairly similar inning to what we saw in the home half out of Verne. Runners on first and second now, and Peterson stepping up to the plate. Left-handed hitter in the Trinity order today. After we saw a couple of lefties, even those that had success yesterday, exit the lineup for head coach Tim Scannell.
Peterson in center field today. You see his numbers on your screen. Hitting .268 on the year with 23 RBI. Probably the biggest start with Jack Peterson is when he gets on base. He's a weapon. Does not stay at first base very long. Caught stealing 3 times, though. That's a career high. Pitch outside, and it's 2-0.
That's a real good take from Peterson right there. Recognizing something on the outside portion. Looked like he just started his hands. He's a guy that wants to pull the baseball. We saw him do so yesterday. Put it right down the first base foul line.
Just misses 3-0. That's 7 consecutive balls thrown by Urquidy.
And it's a spot that feels pretty consistent right now. Bottom portion of the zone, home plate umpire not expanding down, didn't give it to Shauna in the last half, or Urquidy not getting it at the moment.
And back-to-back 4-pitch walks, loads the bases. And it sets up Matthias Riding with a chance to give Trinity the lead.
And a pretty big spot for Riding, who's going to have a couple more moments to consider the outcome of this at-bat. First year in San Antonio, in the early portion of the year, got moved into the backup catcher role behind Nick Lazzara. It's been really, really good defensively, but he was in that role because of other injuries on the roster. Hasn't had the opportunity to swing the bat a ton. We've seen him deliver every now and then.
And a full infield meeting with head coach Scott Winterburn coming out to talk to his starter. I mentioned the numbers from Urquidy at the top of the broadcast. Coach Winterburn saying that it was really a turning point in their season when he took the mound as a starter. Said they're a good offensive team and they just need reliable innings, and that's exactly what he gave them. Trying to come up with another one and get out of a bases-loaded jam. It'll be up to the first-year Riding. As you mentioned, got his opportunity due to injuries. Matt McNaney, a senior, and the presumed backup catcher coming into the year, broke his wrist, missed the first 6 weeks of the year. Riding stepped in. Coach Scannell telling us that pitchers just love throwing to him. He frames the ball really well. Got to talk to Jack Breezy before the game, and he concurred. First pitch, strike 1.
Conversation on the mound gives Urquidy just a moment to gather himself. Nice get-me-over pitch right there. Fastball right down the middle, but you can afford to do so with the 9-hole up.
Swing and a miss, and it's 0-2.
And there's that big breaker. I have to imagine Riding, anticipating something in the zone again from Urquidy, who's struggled across the last 2 at-bats to find the strike zone, but that's not the case right there.
0-2 pitch. Outside, 1-2. And with Urquidy's numbers and his stature on this team, it's hard to remember that he's still a first year. This is his first playoff start. Bases loaded, 1 out in the second inning of your first postseason start. Just a moment to gather yourself. He seems to be a lot better now. Ball lifted into foul territory, but no play for the first baseman, Noah Garcia. And we'll do the 1-2 pitch again.
We talked about the catchers from Trinity, mainly because we talked about Nick Lazzara pretty extensively yesterday. We talked about their build and their frames. Riding out there a little slimmer, moves better. obviously a key factor with one out. Double play ball with the bases loaded.
Pitch high, and Writing battles back to 2-2.
Colt Harris over there at third base. Imagine wind blowing out just a little bit. Flags have died down after they were blowing out just a second ago. If he can lift something into the outfield, probably good enough to get a sac fly job done.
Fouled off, and he stays alive.
But right now, just really good fight out of the true freshman. Falling behind 0-2. A pretty gnarly swing and miss on that breaking ball and an 0-1 delivery. Well outside of the zone, but he's settling in, changing his approach right here, shortening up, just trying to get barrel to the baseball quickly.
Close pitch, does not get the call, and this is a full count.
Maybe that's the benefit of having two catchers hitting in the offensive lineup today for Trinity. Lazara DHing, Writing, playing defensively. Just, again, demonstrating really good plate discipline.
Nowhere to put him, 3-2. Ball 4, and that's a run.
I mean, virtually the same spot from Urquidy right there. Imagine that this breaking ball was designed to be a backdoor, trying to catch the corner of the plate, and he just didn't get the movement he needed. See a big looper, and you see the lean from Perry behind the plate. He sticks that one, kind of fades back, but just didn't pull it over the heart enough to get the call.
Writing able to battle back from 0-2. Urquidy fires strike one to McDonald. You know, normally when somebody walks in a run and that counts as an RBI, I'll say that's the easiest RBI they're going to get, but that was a hard-fought RBI for Matthias Writing.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want to see out of your 9-hole hitter. Absolutely a fantastic job done in that at-bat.
Big hack from McDonald with the bases loaded, and it's 0-2.
And Urquidy, pretty crafty lefty, but you're right. Stature is impressive out there on the mound. Bigger lefty than I anticipated seeing. And have any height measurements on the Verne website.
That's strike 3, and McDonald goes down looking on 3 pitches, 2 down in the second.
Yeah, I mean, strikeout, obviously not a favorable outcome right there, but it stings a little bit more when you go down looking. Talking about the stature, the craftiness of a lefty. Breaking ball has good, solid movement. He spotted it low in that at-bat to start things off. Considering, you know, he's out there on the mound, 6'2" or so. That fastball real firm. It's had good velocity. Maddox McDonald couldn't catch up, couldn't get around the difference in the 2 pitches.
So the base is still loaded for Jack Baker. Finds himself in a 1-0 count. Baker 0 for 1 in today's game, grounded out to third. Ground ball. They'll go the short way, and that ends the inning. Urquidy gets out of the bases loaded jam, but not before allowing the first run of the game. We'll head to the bottom of the second. It's 1-0 Trinity in game 2. Welcome back. Bottom of the second in San Antonio. Joseph Shavana back on the hill for another inning of work, and he fires strike one. Catcher Nathan Perry hitting for the first time today. The sophomore from Irvine, California, making his 43rd appearance of the year. Hitting .378 coming in to this game. So they say he didn't go. It's 1-1. Lined sharply, but drifting foul, and it is.
Yeah, a good cut, but Shavana, righty on the mound for Trinity. He's talked about in this locker room as being one of the strongest guys on the roster.
There's strike three. Perry goes down without a swing. It's a strikeout for Joseph Shavana.
And much like we saw out of Urquidy on the other side, the fastball was overwhelming for Perry in that at-bat, but when you mix it with the breaking ball like Shavana just did, you get guys that are really, really hard to touch.
Brings up the first baseman, Noah Garcia, and what a game he had yesterday. One base shy of the cycle. Had the home run, the single, and the double going into his fifth at-bat. And had a double nearly to the wall, just not quite enough to get him that extra base. Finds himself ahead 2-0. Strike one.
Yeah, it's been mostly soft stuff in this at-bat from Shavana, recognizing the threat at the plate in Garcia. Doesn't want to give him the opportunity to barrel anything up right here.
Garcia in a friendly hitter's count, 3-1. There's strike two down the chute.
Another breaking ball. Really, that's the advantage for Shavana right here. Just trying to throw that back door, catch that outside part of the zone.
Grounded sharply, Baker in time, 2 down.
It's a hard hit ball off the bat of Garcia. It stays on the ground, and luckily for Baker, it's on the ground all the way. No nasty hops on this turf in San Antonio. He gets there quick. That's probably the toughest job, and then raises up, delivers the strike over to Holloway at first, and quickly 2 down here.
Pitch misses low to Aiden Salcedo, the younger of the two brothers on the team. Aiden playing at third today. Take strike one. Misses inside, 2-1. Laverne looking for their first base runner of this inning. Inside, 3-1. Shavana having the battle back once again. High ball 4. And a 2-out walk issued by Joseph Shavana.
And a good at-bat from Salcedo right there, remaining real patient, ultimately not seeing anything and not forcing the issue. Good result for a team that right now just needs base runners, especially with 2 outs, looking for a way to work Joseph Shavana a little bit more and just extend these innings if possible.
Jason Givens takes strike one, hitting .358 on the year, 25 RBI. Did not get the start in yesterday's game, was a pinch hitter. Strike two.
Man, right there, that is a phenomenal job from Matthias Riding behind the plate. From our vantage point, looked like that one was well outside the zone. Off the plate, away from Givens. Just a snap to bring it back into the zone and move Shavana ahead 0-2.
Pitch way inside, nothing Riding can do about that one. And you heard some clamoring from the Laverne dugout on the pitch before that. They didn't appreciate that call, understandably.
And largely outside the zone horizontally, not being given by this home plate umpire, aside from that one offering. Mainly we've seen it to right-handed hitters. We'll get a good look of it right here. You can see it's just immediate. one snap down towards the zone, and Wrighting got the call.
Just missed, and a third consecutive full count for Shavana.
Just a real patient approach from these Verne hitters. Down 1-0 in this series, down 1-0 in this game, but not getting jumpy. That'll be important the rest of the way.
Fair ball into right field. Throw in, holds the runner. Throw not in time to third, safe there, and they're at the corners for Verne.
Here it is, breaking ball. This time, Shavana, after not getting the call on the outside part of the plate, tries to put something down the middle. Givens, who got inserted into the lineup yesterday for Verne, continues to swing it real well. He's right on that breaking pitch, barrels it up, sends it into right field. I thought there was really no chance at a play at third, but Maddox McDonald showed his arm off yesterday, does so again right there. Really the big thing for Trinity in that spot, it gets to third so quickly that Givens doesn't have the opportunity to advance the extra 90 feet himself.
Brings up the 9-hole hitter, Anthony Salcedo. His first pitch, tried to bunt. See what he does on the second one. Takes the ball outside, 1-1.
And that's more or less the spot that I was just talking about. Off the plate to these right-handed hitters, again, not being given at the moment.
Grounded foul, 1-2. Second consecutive inning. Joseph Shavana's had to work around a runner in scoring position. You saw the whip, 1.4. This is a situation he's very familiar with. He knows how to get out of these jams. We'll see if he can do it here.
I was about to say, Cole.
Way inside, and the runner takes second, so now 2 in scoring position.
Back-to-back innings, traffic on. You know, a weird relationship between that ERA and the whip. Very similar numbers, and I think usually a whip like that would indicate a higher ERA.
Hit to deep center field. Peterson under it, and Shavana works out of it again. Houdini at his best. We're still scoreless in game 2. Top of the third in San Antonio. Nick Lazera set to lead off this inning, the number 3 hitter today. I was about to say 0 for 1. He walked the last time he was up, so he's not 0 for 1. Takes ball 1 there, though. Strike called. Talked about traffic the last time Joseph Schiavone was on the mound. Nico Urquidy having to work around some of his own. Bases loaded jam last time. Trinity able to score a run, but it could have been a lot worse. Much better start for Verne overall.
Yeah, limiting damage and staying attached is just going to be huge in this game. Yesterday, obviously, things got out of hand early, and probably the best game for that to be the case.
Line to left, it's a fair ball. Kicks off the bullpen, and this could be trouble. Lazara digging in for second. He'll get no further. It's a lead-off double.
I think that kick really helped them out. Out there in left field, Givens, who again just talked about, was a replacement yesterday, gets his name called to start this one off. We saw this be the case down both foul lines yesterday. Just kind of weird circumstances. You can see from the cutout angle camera, it is in view. Concrete base on that bullpen, some weird kicks, and I think that's a big reason Lazara actually ends up at second. He slowed down rounding first and then recognized that Givens was still pretty far from that baseball. He could take the extra 90.
Grounded to short, and they get Holloway for out number one. Lazara moves to third, sac fly possibility.
And that one was certainly interesting. Vosica out there at short took his time trying to make a decision as to whether or not he should go to third base. Might have had a play. Ultimately took the easier sure out, but you're right. Now Trinity is a runner 90 feet away, and with that, infield will come in for the Leopards.
Colt Harris up to bat with a runner on third. Takes a strike on the upper corner. Harris 1 for 1 with the base hit. Trinity trying to extend this 1-0 lead. Strike called, 0-2. Luke, not quite the start that they had yesterday, but the Tigers, I'm sure, have to be happy with the at-bats they're putting forward.
Yeah, and what I was talking about earlier, 16-0 game in inning number 3, good to get that one out of the way first. But now it puts Verne in a situation where playing from behind, they're probably going to have to expend a lot more resources than they otherwise would. Yesterday, it was so far out of reach, that wasn't the case. But now, a game like this, where you're trying to crawl back in it, right now, it's just one run. But if it gets inflated any more than this, you're putting yourself in a tough spot if you don't complete that comeback down in an 0-2 hole with a lot of weapons off the books.
Harris waves at that, and it's a strikeout for Urquidy, his third of the game, and there's 2 down in the inning.
Right now, Urquidy doing a good job of keeping things right where they are. Nice at bat against Colt Harris after Colt Harris had a nice swing off him in his first trip to the plate today.
Brings up Ty Preston. Flew out to third the last time he was up, but has scorching start yesterday, 2 for 2. Pitch outside, 1-0. Flared to shallow center. And the catch is made by Diaz. That ends the inning. Urquidy works around a runner on third. Sends us to the bottom of the third. Welcome back. Bottom of the third, and the lineup flips over for Verne. Will be Benny Vogel leading off this inning. He takes ball one. Vogel 0 for 1 at the plate today. Grounded out to short the last time he was up. Low 2-0. Vogel hit 8th in yesterday's game, moved up to the leadoff spot. At bottom of the order, produced quite a bit for Verne, particularly in the latter half of yesterday's game 1. Vogel finds himself ahead, 3-0. And gets a leadoff walk.
And I believe the first leadoff base runner for Verne this afternoon. And I think that's been a big reason for Joseph Chavana's success so far. Despite the fact that there's been traffic, it's come after he's recorded at least one out. This changes things in this inning for sure, as we'll see a square round to bunt.
Pulls it back for ball one. Ryan Vasica, 1 for 1 with a base hit today. And you dig into the numbers on this Verne offense. They're top 10 in both sacrifice flies and sacrifice bunts. Vasica takes strike one.
And we didn't see it a lot yesterday. It really didn't come into play considering the score line we had. But a 1-0 ball game, good spot to try and get one back and tie this thing up. Always just a good opportunity to apply pressure on the defense with this kind of approach.
1-1 count. Shows bunt again. And he gets it down. Chavana fields it and takes the out at first.
And a good job from Vasica right there. More than anything, he brings Chavana off his line just enough that the Trinity pitcher can't go to second base. Good bunt, gets the job done. Doesn't try and do anything beyond that. Already seen a bunt go wrong in this ball game. This time, Verne does execute well.
Runner Vogel at second for Matthew Diaz. Take strike one. If you're Verne, this is the guy you want to see at the plate. In this situation, a chance to tie the game. Way inside. 1-1. Grounded foul, and it's 1-2. But going back to their numbers on bunting and sacrifice flies, it shows that they just don't really care what you're hitting, who you are. They will bunt you. They will do whatever it takes to bring and run it, and they're just going to do what's best for the team overall.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting talking to Coach Winterburn about this approach. Just talked very extensively about wanting to develop these just well-rounded, holistic offensive players.
Throw back to second, not in time as Vogel dives back safely.
I mean, clearly they do that. It's what they are. Development for this Verne team has been a theme all weekend, whether it's arms or these bats. It pays off when your team's hitting better than 320 as a squad.
Swing and a miss, ball gets away. Riding throws to first, and the out is made. A strikeout for Joseph Chavana.
Yeah, and that's huge in that spot right there. Less than 2 outs, runner in scoring position. No forces in the infield. Chavana can't rely on a double play ball like he did early in this game to get out of a jam. Strike out exactly what he needs. It's exactly what he gets.
Cleanup hitter Logan Reese up. He takes strike one. Reese hitting .362 currently. Ball in the dirt, a good block by Riding.
Yeah, great job. No movement on the base paths right there, but if there was, Riding kept that one right in front of himself, spit it right in front of home plate, would have had a good lane to throw down to third.
Hit in the air to center field, back and gone. A 2-run homer for Logan Reese, and Laverne takes their first lead of the series. It's 2-1 Leos.
And Cole, I didn't get the chance to, but I swear about 30 seconds ago, I wanted to point out the flags out in center field blowing out just a little bit again. Reese does the job, putting this one into the jet stream. I think off the bat, looks like these guys in center and right field have a chance of running it down, and they recognize they're on the warning track and they can't run into that wall. Huge outcome for Laverne right there, and a big-time swing off the bat of Logan Reese.
So a home run with 2 outs gets the job done. The Leos up for the first time. It's 2-1. In a game 2 that they desperately need, being down 0-1 at a best of 5. Number 5 hitter Nathan Perry up. Takes strike 1. Perry 0 for 1 in today's game. He struck out looking the last time he was up. In the dirt, 2-1.
And you can really tell now, got an angle of the full field. You'll see those flags. They were flying out straight to center field. Now you can tell they're flying a little bit more towards that right center field gap where that ball was just hit.
Grounded softly to Harris. Throw to first ends the inning, but the damage has been done. Logan Reese gives the Leos the lead. It's 2-1 in game 2. Welcome back to game 2 of this NCAA Regional. How about that, Luke? One swing of the bat, and Laverne has their first lead of the series. It's 2-1. Nico Urquidy all of a sudden working with a lead. Not a situation you want to be in if you're Trinity facing this number 1 starter, but the home run, we didn't think it was going out at first.
Yeah, I mean, it was a similar story to the one we saw yesterday. Off the bat, trajectory looked like guys were going to get there, and then you flip your eyes to those outfielders, and ultimately they kind of just run out of room. Ball keeps carrying. Yesterday it was Garcia who put one out over the fence in left field. That one certainly a deeper part of the ballpark, and credit to these Laverne hitters. Yesterday they did a tremendous job of just putting the ball up in the air in San Antonio, where things carry pretty frequently, and it's the case again here today. Those flags continuing to fly out to dead center field.
Leadoff man Kai Tinker hits one to center field. Diaz under it, and he makes the catch for out number 1. I got to talk to Tigers pitching coach Dave Smith about how these baseballs can just carry. He pitched here back in the early 2000s, and he says he knows almost immediately off the bat whether a ball is going out or not because he gave up so many home runs that were just essentially flyouts that just carried out of the ballpark. He's used to it, and now Joseph Schiavone getting used to it as well.
Yeah, it's a tough job. But again, credit to this Laverne offense who has done a good job of putting the ball in the air, given themselves the opportunity to leave the yard. Now they've done it twice as a team that just hasn't done it very frequently this year. I think that plays into this story big time. We came into this series really not anticipating Laverne to leave the yard frequently, and they've already done so twice in each game that we've played now. On the other side, Urquidy doing a nice job of keeping the ball down in the zone and trying to avoid the same thing off the bat of these Trinity hitters.
You know, you expected a team to come in here hitting home runs, and you expected another team to come in here with a death by singles approach, and they've switched roles. Trinity coming in with over 35 home runs on the season. Laverne hasn't cracked 15 yet, even with those two that we've seen. Peterson takes a high strike, and it's 2-2.
It's a good response from Urquidy, recognizing the momentum that his team just swung their favor, trying to sit down Trinity 1-2-3.
And Peterson goes down on strikes. Another strikeout for Nico Urquidy, and there's 2 down in the inning.
Yeah, it's a couple of strikeouts already on the day for Urquidy, and catching these Trinity hitters looking. That time, it's a front door breaking ball. Starts it in on the hands of Peterson. Doesn't think it's going to come back over the plate. And the day, great movement on that pitch.
First pitch fouled off by Matthias Riding. The first year walked the first time he was up. This is the stretch of the order where Nico Urquidy loaded the bases with 3 consecutive walks. Now doing a much better job the second time through it. 0-1 pitch. Breaking ball doesn't loop in. It's 1-1.
I mean, realistically, story for Urquidy today has to be continue to attack these Trinity hitters. Early going, he's shown us he has really good stuff. He has the opportunity to miss bats and avoid solid contact. He just has to keep doing it.
Ground out to second ends the inning. We're through the top of the 4th. We head to the bottom of the frame next on Tiger Network. Bottom of the 4th on the campus of Trinity University. Noah Garcia leads things off. Pulls back a bunt for strike 1. Garcia 0 for 1 in today's game. Grounded out to short the last time he was up. Lined foul off the post. And it's 0-2. So back-to-back games, we've seen a Laverne batter foul a ball off a post of some kind. 0-2 pitch. Grounded softly, but drifting foul, and it is.
Yeah, Shavana really jumping off the mound, trying to get to that one before it rolled foul. Opportunity to just take out number one, but fortunately for him, couldn't quite get there.
So still an 0-2 count. Important inning for Joseph Shavana. He doesn't give up a lot of home runs. We'll see how he responds to it. And responds well there. A high strike, swing and a miss, and another strikeout for Joseph Shavana.
And a good at-bat for Shavana. And one of the poorer at-bats we've seen out of Noah Garcia so far in this series. He's been hard to sit down, so a real important out. Shavana gets back to retiring that leadoff runner successfully here in the home half of the fourth inning. Weird to say.
Pitch to Aiden Salcedo misses. It's ball one. In all fairness to Noah Garcia, that is a pretty high bar. I would say not that difficult for him to have his worst at-bat, considering the day he had yesterday. 4 hits, nearly hitting for the cycle.
And I think he might have gone for it yesterday. Unfortunately for him, when he needed the triple, he had someone on base in front of him.
I mean, yeah, you were down 9 runs. You might as well go for it in that position.
Yeah, even in that at-bat, he scorched one probably just in the wrong gap. He put it in that left center gap. Shorter throw for those outfielders trying to get it to third base. Maybe he goes the other direction. Third base coach helps him out a little bit, plays to his favor.
Shavana, a 3-1 hole. And another walk. A 1-out walk for Aiden Salcedo. It's his second walk of the game.
You know, Cole, we didn't talk about it on air, but had a little bit of a discussion in one of our breaks regarding Shavana, his numbers, really what his season has looked like. Obviously, great ERA. That whip matches it, and largely it creates a lot of situations like we've seen today. Traffic on the base paths, and he operates out of them really, really well, or at least he has done so up until this point in the year. You just imagine in a series in the postseason against a really good team like Verne, again, a top 15 matchup that we have on our hands here in San Antonio, a team as good offensively as these Leopards are going to find a way to scratch and cross some runs across the board. No surprise that they got a couple back in that last half inning. Shavana really just needs to avoid some of these free passes he's given out, and walks so far have been one of the bigger issues for him.
We were able to have him on the broadcast a couple of months ago, and he talked about the difference between good walks and bad walks, trying to limit the walks, but there are some walks that are okay. 2 outs, nobody on, you fall behind, don't want to give them something to hit. But a 1-out walk, a leadoff walk, that's where you run into some problems, and we've seen a few of those today. Pitch misses, and he falls behind 3-1 in danger of walking back-to-back batters.
And I think at this point, adjustment being made against Jason Givens, even hitting in this 8th spot. We talked about it already. Some barrels that he's found this weekend, and trying to avoid that results in what we have right here.
Another walk issued by Joseph Shavana. That's back-to-back. And it brings up Anthony Salcedo. 0-for-1, flew out to center the last time he was up. Came into the game in a similar position he is now. 2 runners on, though there were 2 outs in that inning. Pitch misses away, and that's going to warrant a mound visit. Head coach Tim Scannell coming out. Mound visits, not something we saw all that frequently yesterday, Luke. Jackson Tier just ran through the first 3 innings. Zach Balbin gave up some hits, but ultimately he was doing his job. They were up 16 when he came into the game. Wasn't until that 8th inning when Balbin ran into some trouble. They had a quick talk. He got out of that inning. And then Michael Boki able to finish out the game.
Yeah, it was a long leash that this offense allowed the pitching staff all game yesterday. Not so much the case, especially now that they're trailing in this ball game. Shavana still trusted by this coaching staff. Doesn't look like there are any arms up and even moving in the Trinity bullpen. Far from throwing. I think ride with Shavana, even if there's some more damage, some more runs added across for Laverne for the foreseeable future.
Last pitched miss, and it's 2-0. Shavana working in the bottom of the order right now. It's the 9-hole hitter. Strike called.
Looked like that breaking ball again, serving as another get-me-over pitch, just trying to reestablish himself in the zone.
Strike two.
Does the same thing right there and faces a similar situation that he did in the home half of the first. Runners on first in the second, just one down. He was able to induce that double play ball, something he's been really good at all season long.
Pitch gets away, a good block by Riding. The runners stay where they are.
Yeah, spikes that one. Really no other way to put it. Hard to tell when that's the case what pitch he was going with right there. Just stuck in his hand a little too long, though. Riding in a big spot keeps the runners where they are.
Did he go? No. And back-to-back walks will load the bases with one out.
You have to imagine the way he used the breaking ball in that at-bat. The last offering that he really spiked was probably that breaking ball that got stuck in the hand. Looked like he got it out a little earlier that time, but still hanging on to it just a little too late. In the dirt, not good enough for the hitter to offer at.
Brings up Benny Vogel, who takes ball one. The leadoff man, a .292 hitter on the year with a great opportunity to extend the lead for the Leos. Bases loaded, only one out. Strike one.
Yeah, a little odd behind the plate from our vantage point. Looked like Riding really had to reach to haul that one in. I think he set up on the outside part of the plate, and it was either that or they're mixed up. And given this trip out to the mound, I think these two guys are just trying to get back on the same page.
Quick chat between pitcher and catcher. Talked all game about how Joseph Shavana is very familiar with these situations. Goes back to opening day when he made his first start of the year. Induced 4 inning-ending double plays against the Babson Beavers. Only 2 runs allowed throughout that whole game. Pitched 7 innings. And an 8-2 Trinity win would result in a series sweep of Babson to go 3-0. Now finds himself in a jam once again. The base is loaded. Fouled off, 1-2.
You know, with Vogel at the plate, especially the fact that he's swinging it as a left-handed hitter, going to get out of the box a little bit quicker. And double play ball becomes that much tougher. 2 strikes on him, big spot for a strikeout if he can get it.
In the dirt, 2-2. Shavana's issued 3 consecutive walks. Those are the 3 runners currently on base. Trying to hold this deficit to 2-1. Line to left. It'll score at least 1. Runner holds. They go station to station. It's 3-1 Laverne.
And Shavana getting back in that count. Big situation after walking several consecutive hitters. I think that exists in the back of his mind. 1 pitch away from pushing it full, trying to operate around the zone. It's really not a bad delivery based on that replay. Looked like it was off the plate. It was just an even better job putting it in play, going the opposite direction with it, Vogel.
Now the shortstop, Ryan Vasica, 1 for 1 as a base hit and a sacrifice bunt. Pitch gets away, but not enough to advance the runners. Shavana behind 2-0. Struggled with his command in this inning. It's allowed a base runner to reach in all 4 frames. It hasn't hurt him until now. Pitch misses, and it's 3-0. Opportunity for Ryan Vasika. Ball high, and it walks in a run.
Yeah, and I think this lease has to be getting really short for Shivana right now. 4-1 ball game, still feels like it's in reach. Circumstances, bases loaded, still just one down.
And the leash is short. Dave Smith makes the point, and that is the day for Joseph Shivana. He allows 4 through 3 1/3, and will exit this game 2 of the NCAA Regional. We'll be back after they make this change. Welcome back to San Antonio. Mission critical for Shepard Tyler, who comes into this game with the bases loaded and 1 out. Comes in with an ERA of 4.3, win-loss record of 0-1. 14 2/3 innings pitched on the year. And he'll face one of the most dangerous batters in this lineup, Matthew Diaz, who fouls off that first pitch.
And Diaz trying to jump on Shepard Tyler early. Tyler's numbers not too shabby. Definitely feel as though he's been better in the second half of the year. Missed a stint, and when he came back, he was better than ever.
Grounded past the dive of Harris. 1 run comes in for Laverne, the other one being stopped. And the bases will remain loaded. It's now 5-1 Leos.
Shepard Tyler comes in trying to do exactly what he's being asked to. Just throw strikes at this point in the game. Joseph Shivana left having walked 7 batters. Pitch count was about 87 on the afternoon, but fewer than half of those were in the strike zone.
Now the cleanup hitter, Logan Reese, takes ball 1. It was Reese who put the first runs of the game for Laverne on the board. A home run to deep right field, I should say. Now comes up with the bases loaded. Strike called.
Yeah, and Writing, again, catches that one a little bit awkwardly, making another trip to the mound. I feel like he was probably crossed up on that one. Hands the ball back to his pitcher, just trying to get back on his page, on the same page. Popped up pretty quickly, shook his head. Tough responsibility today for Matthias Writing. Backup catcher is being worked very, very hard in this one.
The battery currently for Trinity, 2 first years in Tyler and Writing. Trying to get the Tigers out of this jam. Already a 5-1 Laverne lead, could be more. Fouled off, 1-2.
And looked like a little bit of an off speed right there. Reese loaded up, was waiting on it. Really trying to tee off. He has the capacity clearly to break this thing wide open with another swing of the bat right here.
Foul tip into the catcher's glove. It's a strike. A strikeout for Logan Reese, 2 down in the inning. And a big pitch by Shepard Tyler.
Yeah, and I think just really good sequencing from Shepard Tyler right there. Goes with that soft breaking ball that catches some of the middle of the plate. Reese was waiting on it, took a healthy cut, comes right back hard in on the hands, can't quite catch up to it.
Brings up the catcher, Nathan Perry. He takes strike 1. Perry 0 for 2. Struck out and grounded out. Trying to blow this game open. Breaking ball misses. It's 1-1.
And from a vertical perspective, it's a good spot to finish, kind of right on the dirt. Writing's able to catch it without having to go down to block, but too far outside, winds up in that other batter's box.
Fouled off, 1-2.
You know, this has been a good inning for Laverne, but fortunately for Trinity on the other side, hasn't been broken open quite yet. The hits that we've seen, base running after the fact, has been fairly conservative, just station to station.
Outside edge, doesn't get the call. Some groans from the crowd, and it's 2-2.
Just about the perfect spot in a 1-2 count. Maybe catches the outside edge. Not quite enough to garner the call from the home plate umpire, though.
Inside, and that got him. That'll bring in another run. It's 6-1 Leos.
I think that makes it sting just a little bit more. Maybe 2 inches off the plate on the previous offering. And then he comes back inside portion. Hard to tell from this angle whether that ball catches him or not. It looks like Writing catches it pretty well, but looking straight on like that, just hard to tell if it catches the thigh and falls straight down.
This one hit in the air to deep right field. It's gone. A grand slam blows it open for Laverne in game 2.
And it's really the tale of 2 ball games here in San Antonio. It's like a mirror image. Takes a little bit longer for the Leopards to get going, but man, they are laying it on thick here in the home half of the 4th. Talked about it yesterday. Right field here in San Antonio plays a little bit shorter. The way the wind's been blowing out all weekend, just getting the ball up into the jet stream, important. Saw the replay. Again, wasn't a terrible pitch from Shepard Tyler. Looked like a breaking ball. Just a little bit of a golf swing. Perfect launch angle. And the Leopards are certainly happy with the offensive output that's continuing here in game 2.
Catch made by Tinker ends the inning, but not before Noah Garcia blasts off to make it 10-1. The grand slam does the damage in game 2. Welcome back. Top of the 5th in San Antonio, Texas. Well, yesterday we told you this series wasn't over, and how about that? An 8-run inning from Verne. All of a sudden, Nico Urquidy works in a very comfortable situation. McDonald tries to bunt, but fouls it off. McDonald, the leadoff man in this game. He's 0 for 2 today. Struck out looking the last time he was up. Pitch high, ball 1. Misses 2-1. Urquidy working with a 9-run lead. And Luke, we talked about when the Tigers were eventually going to pull Tier in that same situation. Well, do you give Urquidy kind of a short start to see if you can get him back for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm inclined to say that it's more of a definite for this Verne squad, considering the fact that they've just used Urquidy in a variety of capacities all season long. Think back to just last weekend, Skyac started game 1 against Cal Lutheran, and then he came in and threw another 2 innings in relief 2 days later.
Line to right, and it falls. A leadoff knock for Maddox McDonald, a good start for Trinity.
You know, considering that, I think he can throw a lot more pitches in this one, and they'd still feel comfortable bringing him back at some point this weekend. But it just becomes a question of whether or not that's actually a necessity. 9-run ball game, this far into it, fairly different than the circumstances we had yesterday. I think we started that conversation with Jackson Tier very, very early on, right? 9 spot for Trinity in the first. By the time it got to the 3rd inning, we got something going on the field right now. Some sort of warning was issued to the Trinity dugout.
Coach Scannell coming out to see what this is all about. I heard some shouting, unclear what exactly was said or done. This is the first time we've seen a dispute like this all year.
Yeah, and what I'll say is the umpires pulled out their books after the warning was initially issued, and then there was a shout of some sort, and then Coach Scannell journeyed out onto the field. Just walked back into the dugout. Not sure if we might see him exit again.
Warnings have been issued to someone, unclear who from where we are.
I think there may have been an ejection. Coach Scannell's headed off the field currently, walking down towards the gate. You can see perfect angle. Yep, there it is. He got thrown.
So Coach Scannell tossed from this game. He will leave the dugout, and we will continue play. That is the first ejection for Coach Scannell all year.
I can't really say anything about that, more so than maybe it's a ploy to fire his team up. I don't know what could have happened on the field. It was a single, shallow blooper to right field off the bat of Maddox McDonald, and things just devolved from there. But certainly this Trinity side has a little bit more energy after that last exchange.
Here's some cheering from that side. As Jack Baker's up. He takes ball 2 to make it 2-0. Pitch called on the outside, strike 1. You know, Coach Scannell, not what I would call a hothead, usually very reserved, even in situations that get out of hand at sometimes.
Yeah, but he is certainly not afraid to let the umpires hear it every now and then.
Rip to right. And the catch is made for out number 1.
We cited our research correspondent, Reed Rosales, yesterday. He's manning the camera again this afternoon in the Trinity dugout. He gave us that shot where you could see Coach Scannell being thrown. He's let us know that he was upset at a strike call that occurred in that at-bat before Maddox actually came away with a base hit. So that conversation clearly continued after the fact. Umpires had had enough of it.
That's pretty unusual. I mean, we hear from reading the dugout that calls are argued all the time. Something must have been said, unclear. Obviously, the umpires didn't like it one way or another. Scannell not a part of this game anymore, assuming he's invited back for Game 3, which will happen later today. And a designated hitter, Nick Lazera up. Urquidy throws to first. Back safely is McDonald.
This is a Trinity team that likes to run. In Game 1, didn't have that much of a need to. Things just happened so quickly for them offensively. It was hit after hit after hit, and guys just didn't really get the opportunity.
Close pitch, call not given. It's 2-0.
That's a big looping breaking ball, and frankly, I think the home plate umpire might have given up on it a little too early. From our vantage point, looked like a really solid pitch.
Outside, now 3-0.
Now, this entire fiasco has interrupted our conversation regarding Urquidy on the mound. You know, how much longer does he go? Do you really need him to continue in this one? I think if he gets out of this inning clean, we'll probably see a change. Right now, Trinity doing what they can to muster a more immediate response.
Lazera takes a strike on the inside edge. Still ahead 3-1. If there's one thing to say for Trinity, McDonald gets the hit. Baker flies out, but it was hit pretty sharply. Big cut from Lazera, and it's 3-2. Full count. Fouled off. We'll do it again. So you'd assume with Coach Scannell's ejection, it's going to be pitching coach Dave Smith pretty much running the shows, taking on those responsibilities shared by hitting coach Joey Deering, who's currently the third base coach. Grounded. It could be 2. Throw to first. A great catch, and he sticks the landing. A double play ends the inning. This is still a 10-1 ball game. We'll head to the bottom of the 5th in San Antonio. Bottom of the fifth on the campus of Trinity University. Shepard Tyler back out there for Trinity in a 10-1 game, and leading it off for Laverne will be Jason Givens, the left fielder today. He's 1 for 1. He walked the last time he was up. He had a single before that. And you would assume similar to Zach Balbin, and then plenty of the pitchers for Laverne yesterday. Shepard Tyler's job will be to eat some innings and just collect outs where he can.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the luxury of this format. It's just different. Everything else, even outside of the official NCAA tournament, it's 2 losses and you're done. Right? SCIAC tournament and the SCAC tournament for these Trinity Tigers, 2 losses, your chance is over. 4-team regional, super regional, College World Series, 2 losses and your season is over, but that's not the case here in this 5-game. I have a little bit more to play with. Talked about it yesterday. Really important how you operate around the roster restrictions and limitations. A lot of arms that get brought into the postseason, so you can deal with games like this. Feels at this point like Trinity has that same kind of game that Laverne did yesterday now on their hands, and you're right, Shepard Tyler going to be tasked with just finding the outs where he can get them.
Down 3-1 to Givens. And it's a leadoff walk. Talking to Tiger pitching coach Dave Smith before the game yesterday, he talked about the format, and he said it's very different because you only have to win 60% of your games here, as opposed to 67% of your games in a standard regional. Only 2 of these best-of-5 regionals issued throughout the entire tournament. Pomona Pitzer hosting one and Trinity hosting the other. Strike called, it's 0-1. Of course, this 2-team regional not going to be a thing next year. Expanding the tournament to 64 teams, so that'll open up the tournament to have a standard regional at every site. Pitch away, and it's 1-1.
You know, while I think that this 2-team regional has some advantages, and I think it might be preferable if you're literally playing in it. You gain some familiarity with the other team. Obviously, it can be a little bit more taxing on your arms. But from a fan perspective, I mean, I don't think anything beats, at the college level at least, postseason baseball in the 4-team regional format.
Runs inside and gets him, so 2, in effect, free passes issued by Shepard Tyler with nobody out.
And it's another rough start here. Now in the home half of the 5th. No outs on the board. Some more traffic on the base paths. It is just wild how similar these 2 games have been, but just the mirror images of one another. Big difference today, though, the fact that we have a doubleheader on our hands, and no matter what happens the rest of the way, both of these squads can be playing again.
A bunt from Vogel, and it was a good one. He reaches, and it loads the bases with nobody out. The Leos trying to add on.
Yeah, just perfectly placed bunt right here. Righty on the mound, falling off the opposite direction. Now twice in this game, Vogel has done a really good job swinging it as a lefty. First time, he actually had the opportunity to swing it and send it the opposite way with the bases loaded. This time, pushes one the opposite way, and great speed on the base path, beats it out easily.
Shortstop Ryan Vasika takes strike 1. He's 1 for 1. He has a walk, a sacrifice bunt, and a single. Works with the bases loaded and nobody out. Slider away, and it's 1-1. Inside, 2-1.
It's also fairly funny, Cole. We mentioned it yesterday. Trinity playing in this format in 2022 postseason against UT Dallas, and talked about the similarities in regards to pitchers just needing to eat innings. The offensive output that we have seen this Trinity team be involved in this format, pretty absurd. That was a series where in the game Trinity lost, UT Dallas put up 32 runs. Right now, Verne matching that pretty well. Offensive output continues here. Another run walked in at the moment.
Ball 4 and the score added on. It's 11-1 for the Leos in game 2.
Scored 9 yesterday. Come back, score another 11 today. This time, pretty comfortable lead at the moment. Should be much happier with the result of this ball game.
Matthew Diaz comes up to bat for the 4th time today. 1 for 2 as a single, a walk, and a strikeout. But I think that's an important trend to take away from game 1, as it ended what I believe was a 9-2 Laverne run. And this is an 11-1 Laverne score in game 2. Ball 1, as that's high to Diaz. So while the score was out of hand, at least Laverne has to be pretty happy with how that last game ended. As another walk issued, or another ball by Shepard Tyler, and it looks like that will be his day. A pitching change in San Antonio when we come back. Welcome back to the campus of Trinity University. Old friend in a regional, it's Matthew Mackey coming out in an 11-1 ball game, and his job would be pretty simple. Eat innings, exactly what he did in game 3 against UT Dallas. Tigers trying to get out of this using as few arms as possible, and he's going to try and make that happen. Comes in a 1-0 count and fires strike 1 to Diaz.
You know, for both of these squads in these games that have gotten away from them, I haven't seen any pitchers outside of their starters that I think we would have anticipated seeing this weekend in close ball games.
Lined and foul, it's 1-2. Of course, yesterday for Laverne, it was Halbaizen eating important innings for them. Zach Balvin for Trinity. Both teams just trying to save their high leverage arms for situations where they need them. And you would assume it's going to be the same today for both sides. Pitch in the dirt, and it's 2-2.
And yesterday, while Laverne wanted to eat innings quick, I think there's maybe a greater sense of urgency with trying to do it fast today for this Trinity squad, really for everyone's sake. A lot of baseball that's going to be played here in San Antonio. Yesterday, we saw that run rules were not in effect.
And Mackey gets a double play. A run will score on the 6-4-3, but 2 down in the inning.
Yeah, this is just great job and great concentration by Jack Baker out there at short. Takes his time, makes sure he fields this thing while he's still on the bag, and then boom, immediate flip the feet, get it on over to first as quick as possible, and it's just in time for 2.
So the 6-3 ground out, double play. Moves Vogel to third, that's where he is. And it brings up the cleanup hitter, Logan Reese, in what is now a 12-1 ball game as a run scores. Pitch away, and it's 2-0. Now 3-0. Four-pitch walk, and that puts runners at the corners.
You know, Cole, I want to go back just a second to a name you mentioned, throwing for Laverne yesterday. Hallbison did successfully eat innings. Not only that, he really shut down the Trinity offense. And I think that's one opportunity in a long series for these relievers, is just kind of put their names in the mind of their coaching staffs. I wouldn't be surprised after the performance that we saw out of Hallbison if his name gets called again, maybe in Game 2 today, maybe at some point tomorrow in a Game 4 that almost now looks like a certainty, or a Game 5 that's still very much in play.
1-0 pitch. Grounded sharply to Tinker, throw to first in time. And Mackey gets Trinity out of the inning, but not before 2 more runs come across. It's 12-2. It's 12-1 Laverne as we head to the 6th. Top of the 6th in Game 2 of this NCAA regional between Trinity and Laverne. It's 12-1 Leos as Christian Holloway gets set in the batter's box to lead things off. Urquidy still out there for Laverne. We were wondering how much longer he would go. It seems to be a full slate for him, 6 innings. But we know he has the capacity to throw again tomorrow if needed.
Yeah, we talked about it, of course, yesterday in a game that looked very similar. There's just so many components to it, and one big thing that was relevant in yesterday's ball game, the pitches that Jackson Tier did throw in the early going were pretty low intensity. Not a lot of runners on. Of course, and pitch count stayed low over the duration of the day. I imagine that'll still be in play for Urquidy. But man, he's also getting the opportunity now to really get himself into a rhythm, feel comfortable on this field, feel comfortable on this mound, which, you know, is a big difference field to field.
3-0 pitch to Holloway. Catches the top of the zone at strike one. We mentioned it earlier, he threw 7.2 in a start in the SCIAC tournament and then threw 2 innings in relief the next day, so he's definitely capable of doing it. Hit in the air, but foul, no play. It's 3-2. Dave Smith deciding to leave a lot of his starters in there. Colt Harris still in the on-deck circle. Holloway in the batter's box. It's a very senior-led Trinity team. Pitch away, and Holloway works a leadoff walk. Very senior-led Trinity team. A lot of these guys have experience going to the College World Series back in 2022 when they were sophomores. Matthew Mackey, who was on the mound last inning for the Tigers, one of those guys. But another one of those guys who had that experience was Alex Bin. Somebody, not too sure that if we're going to see him in this game or in this series, but he's got an interesting story and an interesting future coming up. He'll be going to Togo to work in the Peace Corps. Starts that, I believe he told me, June 7th. So we're all very excited for him and what his future holds. And there's a lot of seniors going different places. We know just Shavana's going to play baseball at Xavier. He's already started basically his summer semester at Xavier, as this one is ripped to deep left field, but not deep enough as the catch is made for out number 1. Shavana will play D1. Jack Peterson going to Rice to play D1, but some other paths out there, and that's one of them, and probably one of the more interesting ones.
Yeah, I remember senior day here in San Antonio. Went through a lot of the guys and what they're going to be doing next. I don't know if that wasn't on Alex Bin's radar yet. I hadn't been confirmed, but I don't remember talking about it, and I feel like I would have.
Ty Preston in the batter's box, another senior. Trinity hoping that their season will extend beyond this, as is Laverne. Laverne made it to the Super Regional last year to play ETBU. Trinity had won that regional against ETBU. These two would have been faced off against each other. Strike called on the inside edge. It's 1-1 to Preston. There's actually another reliever, Josh Whitty, who keyed me on to that little nugget about Alex Bin. Whitty goes up to me and he says, you know, you need more little nuggets about us. So he tells me all these random things, and I brought up a lot of them throughout, but I wanted to save this one for a game of more high-profile status, bigger audience. I think it deserved the spotlight. So Alex Bin getting his well-deserved shout-out. 2-1 pitch, fouled off. It's 2-2. This team filled with some very, very nice people overall. Great to get to know them in different capacities, but Alex Bin, reserved, but very nice as well. Definitely on that caliber with a lot of players on this team.
Yeah, and a name that has come up, I encountered outside of the athletic world here at Trinity, a guy that is well respected in pretty much every regard. I had some classmates that have good things to say about him in academic sense. It's a standard, a high standard that's set at really both of these institutions. You can talk about these athletic departments across the board. Very, very impressive things being done.
Preston rips this one to deep left field, back at the warning track, and the catch is made by Diaz for out number 2. Holloway has to go all the way back to first base. 2 down in the inning.
That is a great run by Diaz out there in center field. Those flags still blowing. This one looked like it had a chance to split the gap, but he got on his horse. He got there in a hurry. Impressive catch that he made look real easy, reaching up over the shoulder to haul in out number 2. Brings
up the third baseman, Kai Tinker. He's 0 for 1. He also has a walk in this game. Take strike one. So Urquidy working around that leadoff walk pretty well. He's gotten the next two batters out since then. Trying to go 3 for 3. Pitch misses away. It's 1-1. Of course, we've talked about all these seniors. Urquidy on the other side of that, a first year already making quite the impression. He was not the game one starter in this series, but I think many of us assumed he would be, certainly of that caliber. Talk about the season he's had, winning the SCIAC Newcomer of the Year award. Unclear how much longer he'll go in this game, but definitely in line for the win, and he's been very good.
Yeah, there is another Laverne Leopard up and warming in their bullpen. This is a big difference yesterday versus today's game. Urquidy has stayed in there, and he's continued to cruise on the mound. Verne hasn't given Trinity an opportunity to see a reliever that, you know, maybe they'd have a bit more success against, have the opportunity to carry some momentum into game two. A lot of strategy occurring here in San Antonio, certainly.
Tinker finds himself in a 2-2 count. Maybe some disagreement over which pitch should be thrown. Now we have a consensus. And it was the right one. A swing and a miss from Tinker, and that ends the inning. Urquidy's through 6. He has a 12-1 lead as we head to the bottom of the 6th. Welcome back. Bottom of the 6th. Matthew Mackey back on the mound for the Tigers, and he'll face Garcia, the first baseman. 1 for 3 in this game, but that one was a big one. A grand slam to put this game essentially out of reach, made it 10-1 at the time, and he has had quite the start to his series. Nearly hit for the cycle yesterday and gets the grand slam today. Noah Garcia has been quite the problem for the Tigers. So we get to see Matthew Mackey for the first time. You know, it was something interesting that I thought might set itself up in the last half inning. Not in the last half inning, I should say. The last inning, Laverne was batting. It was Noah Garcia. Was a few spots away, but the bases were loaded. I was wondering if we could see 2 grand slams in the same game.
And I know that did happen yesterday in day 1 of the NCAA D3 regionals.
The same player?
Birmingham Southern, yeah, same
Wow.
player. 2 grand slams in one day.
One pitch. Gets away, and it's ball 2. Of course, Fernando Tatis Sr. hitting 2 grand slams in the same inning, I believe with the Cardinals at Dodger Stadium. That's the famous one, but still 2 grand slams. Any grand slam's a good day, but 2 grand slams in the same day, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Rips this one deep to left, and it finds the outfield lawn. Garcia digs in for 2, and he's got it easily. A leadoff double, his second extra base hit of the game.
Yeah, and there is, I don't think, a hotter bat in this series than Noah Garcia right now across these two squads. He has barreled up baseballs pretty much every time he steps up to the plate. Continues right there. A guy that certainly you're going to have to be careful with the rest of the way. He's already left the yard a couple of times in this series. And he has the advantage of hitting from the left side in this hitter-friendly ballpark.
That is his 5th extra base hit in these 2 games. I think 5 hits in 2 games is a great day. 5 extra base hits, 2 of them being home runs, is just exceptional. Aiden Salcedo up. He's 0 for 1 today. Flew out to third the last time he was up. He's also walked twice.
You know, Cole, discussion of the 2 grand slams from Birmingham Southern. Good reminder that there's a lot of baseball being played across the country. There's a lot of teams that maybe fans watching at home have a little bit of interest in as well. Talked about it on the broadcast yesterday. 9 teams from Region 10 making the tournament this year. Includes the conference champs. For the SCAC, it was Centenary, it was up in Marshall, Texas. For the SCIAC, it was Pomona-Pitzer, who's hosting in the LA area. Northwest Conference as well. Getting just 1 team in. The SCIAC getting 4 squads to the postseason. Verne earning that at-large bid. They come here to San Antonio. Claremont Mudd Scripps, they were a loser yesterday in that Marshall Regional to Concordia.
Rip to center, but Peterson makes the catch. Runner tagging throw will be offline. So Garcia heads to third with 1 down. You're right, Luke. You talked about the excellence of these 2 conferences. 4 teams making it from the SCIAC. Uncertain whether Cal-Lu would make it. They're up in Wisconsin Whitewater right now. They did get in against what is arguably the #1 overall seed in the Warhawks. I believe they won yesterday against Center as well.
And you would be correct there. I think it was a 7-0 final score.
That sounds right.
For a while, I was watching that line, and for the longest time, it was 5-0. Cal-Lu certainly had that one in hand the majority of the way. They're the only SCIAC team to win yesterday. It was a rough day for the conference. So far, so good today, however. Laverne riding the ship. But imagine Pomona-Pitzer likely will have a good response as well in their 2-team series.
Lined into right field. This will score a run. Givens digging in for second, gets there sliding. An RBI double makes it 13-1.
And there's not a ton of benefits that you walk away with losing a game yesterday by a final of 18-9. But I think the opportunity to get Jason Givens into the lineup late in that game is certainly paying off. He's maybe the 2nd hottest bat in this Laverne offense at the moment. And he wasn't a starter in game 1.
Hits are now 9-3 for Laverne. The score 13-1. Brings up Anthony Salcedo. 0 for 1 today, hit by a pitch the last time he was up. Takes strike 1. Of course, Salcedo and many others in his area of the lineup ended up scoring runs in that 8-run inning. One pitch. High 1-1.
Yesterday we talked about it, the efficiency with which Trinity scored runs in that ball game. In the early going, it was basically a 1-to-1 ratio. Laverne had a lot of hits on the board, just didn't scratch as many runs. It was a little bit spottier. Today, though, in a much messier game, they have fully taken advantage of a lot of walks that were issued, in particular in the home half of the 4th. And because of that, more runs on the board than hits on the day.
1-2 pitch. Misses 2-2. One out, 2-2. Runner on second. Grounded fair. Mackey fielding his position, gets out number 2.
And it's defensive changes all over the place in this Trinity infield at the moment. Mackey does most of the job himself on this one. He just waits for it to fall back down, recognizes that high bounce, spins, locates. Good job. Gets the toss on over to Corson Hastings, who's replacement at first.
Corson Hastings, the new first baseman. Cal Coney takes Colt Harris's place at second base. Cam Champness in the game for Jack Baker at shortstop. Unclear to see the outfield changes from where we are. Peterson looks like he's still in center, but that's all that's certain.
I think it might be Pierce Matthews in right field. And based on profile and glove hand, maybe Max Milligan out there in left.
Ground ball to first. Mackey covers, and that ends the inning. But Laverne scratches another run. It's 13-1 in game 2. Pinch hitter into the game for Trinity. It's Pierce Matthews set to lead things off against Nico Urquidy, who stays out there for the top of the 7th for Laverne. Urquidy fires strike 1. Matthews has seen his playing time decrease a little bit in the second half, but came up big for the Tigers in the first half, hitting his first 2 career home runs in the first 2 weeks of the year. Tigers were able to come back. A 9-run deficit in the bottom of the 8th inning against Babson in their second game of the year. Pierce Matthews had a 3-run homer, his first hit and first home run of his Tiger career. And that's really what got the comeback going. Talked to a lot of the Trinity players after that game, and they said that's really what sparked it. And it was Christian Holloway with a grand slam to give the Tigers the 15-14 victory. Matthews fouls that back over our heads, and it's 2-2.
And I mean, it's always interesting to see usage of incoming freshman classes. Talked a lot yesterday about Caleb Woodward, who gets a break in this one. Pierce Matthews, another name that will be interesting to track. Came in as a real college-ready body, a lot of strength in the bat, also really good in the field. Just a cannon of an arm.
As Matthews flies out to center, 1 down in the inning, and it'll bring up Matt McNaney. Matthews also hit another home run a weekend after that. It's the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Trinity had allowed over 30 runs in their first 2 games against the Warhawks. We're down 0-2, and a 4-game series. Tigers were down in that game as well until Pierce Matthews hit a grand slam in the bottom of the 7th inning. Tigers would win that game and then split the series. As that day after, Jackson Tier broke the program strikeouts record with 20. A 1 pitch to McNaney. Inside 1-1.
Cole, I'll be honest with you, that feels like a different lifetime. It's been so long since that happened. A lot of baseball, a lot of innings here on Tiger Network. That was my first weekend of the season. I missed weekend number 1 against Babson. So, you know, maybe this is bookends, first and last. Never know. Even if Trinity was to win this series, no guarantee that they would host. We already know who they'll be matched up against. The winner of this series, of course, paired with the regional up in Cleveland, Case Western, top 10 team in the country. And currently, they are losing in the winner's side of the bracket. 1-0 matchup against Lynchburg, the reigning national champs. Not a very easy visitor to be facing off against as the home team in a regional.
Of course, if Case Western wins, the suspicion is that they will host whoever wins this series, but the winner of this series could potentially host a super regional. I'm sure both sides would enjoy quite a bit. Head coach Scott Winterburn heading out to the mound. We'll see if this is just a change or a talk. And it is a change. That's the day for Nico Urquidy. He heads back to a joyful dugout. They're up 13-1. He's in line for a postseason victory. Pitching change in San Antonio. Devin Avila comes into the game. 0-1 record, a 2.35 ERA, 15 1/3 innings pitched. The whip below 1, 10 strikeouts, 9 walks. Very good numbers for the right-hander out of Murrieta, California. He enters a game that's well in hand, 13-1 in favor of his side as he faces Maddox McDonald as his first batter. First pitch away, and it's 1-0. He replaces Nico Urquidy, who's going to get the win today. in his first postseason start. A lot of run support to help him out, but he was very good, holding the Tigers to 1 run through 6 1/3 innings pitched.
Yeah, he was spectacular and did everything that you could ask for if you're the Verne coaching staff. The type of performance that he needed on the mound today, down 1-0 in this series. Great bounce back game from a pitching perspective. Looks like they're going to even things up here. It was really a question as to when we're going to see each of these aces. I think that's how more or less we've defined Urquidy for this Laverne squad. I don't know if it was going to be a matchup of Tier and Urquidy in game 1, but I think things have paid off for each of these teams, more or less guaranteed themselves wins when each of those guys were on the mound. And for Urquidy as a freshman, just delay that first NCAA postseason opportunity by a day, right? Don't roll him out there game 1. Don't make him face the #1 guy from this Trinity squad. Give him an opportunity to just take in the atmosphere, really just find a groove in day 2, and that's exactly what happened, and he was great.
They needed a win today, and it looks like he got the job done. Maddox McDonald walks, and it brings up Cam Champness, seeing his first postseason action. First pitch grabs the edge of the zone for strike 1. Champness saw some action earlier in the year, like many of these other young Tigers. He's a sophomore from Katy, Texas, hitting .231 on the year. On base percentage of .375 for the shortstop. Fouled back in our direction, and it's 0-2.
Talked about it just a little bit ago. Urquidy staying in this game a little longer than we weren't entirely sure when he would come out, but I think a little longer than we might have anticipated considering the score line. Quieted the Trinity bats, and now Trinity opting to get a bunch of replacements in there. Fresh faces will have the opportunity to swing at rather than some of the staples across the last 2 days getting more opportunities to get the barrels hot.
Champness behind 1-2 with the runner on first, 1 down in the inning. Hit hard to center field, and the catch is made by Diaz. Runner tags from second and slides safely into third.
And much like was the case yesterday, maybe not with as much frequency, but this Trinity offense, even though it's down, feel like they've put some pretty good swings on the ball. Just hasn't found the ground in the outfield. Great range being displayed by the Leopards out there. I just haven't let anything fall in. No easy hits for Trinity, who's been stuck at 3 in that H column on the scoreboard for quite a while in this one.
Designated hitter Nick Lazera up. Takes ball 1 with runners at the corners and 2 down. You know, Luke, something occurred to me during the pitching change. I believe last broadcast we promised that you would finish a story relating to pitching coach Dave Smith and a regional. I don't think you ever did.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good one too. And probably would have fit pretty well in yesterday's discussion. First regional game that we've seen here in San Antonio in my time, in Coach Smith's time, as a guy who was on the roster in the early 2000s, but maybe we'll save it for just a moment longer as well.
This time we mean it, folks. We'll come back. Bottom of the 7th in San Antonio. Game 2 between Trinity and Laverne. It's 13-1. This series seems to be heading to a Game 4. But not before we play Game 3 later today. Be sure to tune in for that. First pitch will be 45 minutes after the conclusion of this one. Matthew Mackey back on the mound for the bottom of the 7th. So face Vasica, the shortstop. Ryan Vasica hitting .372. That average has jumped up a little bit. But Luke, before we do anything else, let's make sure we get back to that story before we have any interruptions.
Yeah, we got to knock this out. And we'll take some time with it. But of course, yesterday, we had the opportunity to be down on the field before things got underway, and we had a little bit of a conversation with Coach Smith. You mentioned on the broadcast yesterday, he kind of prompted things by saying just how wonderful it was to wake up in his own bed for the first time before a regional series. Trinity has played in a lot of regionals. You can see it out in the left field wall. It starts in 2002. Most recent one last year in 2023. Coach Smith would have been around for every single one of those. So he's had quite a few opportunities, but none of them ever came here in San Antonio. And assumption I was under, and I think assumption a lot of people in the athletic department were under, Trinity just didn't put bids in to host. There's a change with the facility. In the last couple of years, it moved from an all grass and dirt infield to the turf that you see on your screens now. You know, that's a big part of it. It's a lot of field upkeep that the home team is responsible for. You know, at this point in the year when people have gone home, students don't have the opportunity to work games, it usually is a responsibility that falls on the team itself. I don't know how much the coaching staff wanted that in the past, but Coach Smith shared that back in 2019, he himself went through the process of filling out a bid to host. He submitted it, and the NCAA called Trinity back, but they did not call Coach Smith. They called other people in the athletic department, said, hey, you put in a bid to host. We would love to see it this year. And whoever picked up the phone said, I don't know anything about that. We did not put in a bid to host. We do not want to host. So all of Coach Smith's hard work, his effort going through that bid, which is not an easy process whatsoever, went to waste back in 2019.
Another part of that being the field upkeep. It was a grass field, as you mentioned, as opposed to the turf right now. A lot of people that don't know this, the team that hosts the regional, they are in charge of any field work for all games, not just theirs. So that means if you host a 4-team regional, you have to work the field and the grounds for games that are not yours. But despite that work that he was going to have to put in, Coach Smith wanted the regional. Now he finally gets it here in San Antonio. Not loving this game. Loved game 1 a little more, I think, but just has the opportunity to wake up in his own bed and head to the ballpark.
Yeah, it is a real luxury, and it has been pretty beautiful weather here in San Antonio. It was a hot one yesterday, but for those of you watching at home, if you had any concern about Cole and I, we have a tent, pop-up tent. We're in the shade. We're ready for a 2-game slate in this one. I think we otherwise would have been concerned. Previously, we've had issues with equipment overheating up here on the roof of the Trinity Bell Center. But we're gonna forge on in this one.
Lined sharply, but fouled into the Tiger bullpen. Stays at 2-2. This tent is just miraculous. Like, it's a normal tent. Don't get me wrong. It's tied down. It's not going anywhere. No need to worry about that. But man, it is unbelievable the difference between under this tent and 5 feet away. Ground ball, slow roller. Tinker handles it and ends the inning. Not yet.
No, that's just out number 1, but there was a lot of movement.
They were moving
on that
up.
left side of the infield.
That got me. Okay.
Yeah, Mackey covering third base right there with Tinker having to come across to field that baseball. It looked like Champness was headed that direction too.
Yeah, all the running got me on that one. You see everybody running in the direction of the dugout, and it just sets you in that mindset of, oh, we got through another one. As that pitch rides inside, a hit by pitch, and it reloads the bases with 1 down.
Yeah, it's just been one of those days. It's been a series for sure. The past 2 games, I don't know if either of them have entirely gone the way we anticipated. I know we expected some runs to be scored. You always do in Region 10, but 2 games, 2 fairly lopsided affairs.
Matt Rice gets hit by a pitch. He heads to first base, and now the opportunity for what we talked about earlier. Noah Garcia comes up with the bases loaded. Already has 1 grand slam today, and he takes ball 1. Mentioned it earlier, 5 extra base hits in the 2 games for Noah Garcia in this series. Ground ball could be 2. Coney flips to second for 1. They're not going to get the runner at first, and a run scores. It's 14-1 Laverne.
Yeah, this one just plays too deep in that hole. Not enough pace on the ball to get it through the infield. So you see Garcia really rip, and unfortunately just tops off on that baseball. Trying to pull that one out of here. Maybe gunning for home run number 3 of the weekend, grand slam number 2 of the day. It's a good job by Cal Coney out there at second base, defensive replacement. Get to that baseball, recognize he has enough time to get one of the lead runners and takes that out at second and keep another guy out of scoring position.
Another pinch hitter in for Laverne. It's Manuel Munoz, a senior from Simi Valley, California. Means there are 2 seniors from Simi Valley on the field at the same time. Kai Tinker over at third base for Trinity, also from Simi Valley.
And you wonder if at some point in the past these 2 have faced off against each other. I feel like the odds of that fairly decent.
Yeah. At least know each other.
Oh,
I would
sure.
assume. Baseball's a small world. Grounded to short. And Chapman steps on the bag this time to end the inning for sure. We're through 7 on Tiger Network. We'll head to the top of the 8th when we come back. It's 14-1 Laverne. Top of the 8th in San Antonio, Corson Hastings took over defensively at first base for Christian Holloway back into the game for his first at bat. Comes in a 14-1 ball game. First pitch misses for ball 1. Devin Avila still in the game for Laverne. You would assume to finish it out, only using 2 pitchers in game 2 after using 5 in game 1. Take strike 1. But Luke, as game 2 winds down, I think it's fair to think about what to expect for game 3. As Laverne still has at least the guys who have thrown the most innings remaining and available. Uncertain about the position of Gerald Terry. We've been told by Coach Scott Winterburn that he's available. We don't know in what capacity, though. So a lot to be determined, and Game 3 is going to matter because winner can close it out in Game 4.
Yeah, and I know we've had some conversations about Terry, maybe not on air to this point, but you had informed me of that. You know, not sure the capacity in which he'll be able to throw. The fact that he is, in fact, available, I don't know. It's made me think, and I think there's a lot to think about for each of these pitching staffs. For Trinity, it's really Jackson Tier. Now for Laverne, it's Terry and also Urquidy, who kind of moves back into the picture.
Base hit for Corson Hastings. He waits on first. You're right, Urquidy, you would assume in the picture for tomorrow, probably not later today, but I think Gerald Terry, definitely one of the biggest X factors in this series. He's second on the team in innings pitched. He's spent 6 years with the team. I'm assuming he has several records in the record books of Laverne baseball history.
I mean, you're really dealing with 3 different situations with all these guys. Terry, who hasn't thrown at all, but based on our understanding, is dealing with a little injury of sorts that's developed towards the end of this season. Of course, if he's available, then that's great news for this Laverne squad. And then Tier in the middle, didn't throw a ton yesterday in his start, and Urquidy, today, who started, and has thrown the most pitches, all these guys.
Coney gets hit by a pitch, and he heads to first, runners on first and second.
Of course, Urquidy's going to be done today. You just think tomorrow he won't have a day off in between that Jackson Tier likely would. And then with Terry, I don't know. I think him and Tier are in somewhat similar positions, but we can continue that conversation when we come back.
Pitching change in San Antonio. Top of the 8th continues when we come back on Tiger Network. Top of the 8th, the new pitcher in for Laverne. It's Tyler Lokar. He enters his 5th inning of work, making his 4th appearance. He has yet to give up an earned run. His last appearance in the conference championship against Pomona. He threw 1.2 innings, struck out a batter, and did not allow a run. Comes into this game trying to take it the rest of the way, you would assume. When he faces Max Milligan, who takes strike 1.
And with such a big lead, story remains the same. Pitch to contact, allow the defense to play behind you. They've been really good. In the 2 games we've seen, only 1 mistake that's been made on the field, and it was Trinity defensively who committed that error. But back to what we were talking about just before that break. You're in an interesting spot with Tier and Terry on each of these respective sides. 2 guys that are available, but kind of have this asterisk by their name. You know, in my thinking leading up to this, there are 2 guys that have exclusively started games for both of these squads. And while I understand you might not get the same length that you usually would from either of them, it feels like it makes the most sense to let them ramp up as if they're going to start a game and to actually start them in the game. Right? Don't mess around with bringing them out of the bullpen, trying to get them ready quicker than is normal. Even if you're not going to get them to go for 6 innings, 3 good innings is better than 3 bad innings in the middle of a game.
Think about how important 3 innings are in a regional like this. These 2 teams, not close in either of these 2 games, but you would assume the net kind of makes them even though it doesn't look like it through the different spans of 9 innings. Ranked number 13 and number 14 coming into this series. Milligan ahead, 3-2. And takes ball 4. That loads the bases with nobody out.
And it's a good string of at-bats for Trinity right here. Even in a big ball game like this, they've remained patient. I think that's one thing you certainly want to see. Don't get too trigger happy. Focus remains on the team outcome and the team success. None of these guys are swinging out of their shoes, trying to jump the fence.
Pitch inside the Tinker, called for a strike. And that's one thing I got to talk to Coach Scannell about after that Babson comeback. The one thing that's overlooked about that comeback at times is because they thought the game was over. It was 14-5. They took a lot of the regular starters out, so it was a lot of guys that normally didn't see action that made that comeback, pinch hit at bats. And he said there's a perspective at it where it's a much pure approach, just trying to get a bat to the ball, not trying to do anything too much, just trying to put it in play, and that's what they need to do sometimes. Tinker, one of the few starters that remains in this game, takes strike 2. Bases loaded, nobody out. High, and it's 2-2. Hit in the air to deep left field, back towards the warning track. This should bring in 1. Hastings tags from third. He is in safely. All the runners advance, and it's 14-2.
And Tinker certainly was trying to just keep this thing going. Unfortunately for him, got a little too far underneath this baseball. Gave it a good ride, and it kept carrying out there to left field. Good thing for the Tigers is it gets a job done, brings another runner in. And you're right, heads up base running, recognizing how deep that one was. And both runners advance. No force out in the infield, and the inning continues.
Strike 1 to Pierce Matthews. He has his second at-bat of the game. Matthews, a first year. Ball high, 1-1. And you think if you're Trinity, you just want what Laverne got at the end of game 1. A good end, something you can carry forward into the next one.
And maybe like Laverne got yesterday with Givens, a bat that you really like getting hot.
Runner has to go back to second, does so in time. Thought the runner at third would come home, not the case. Caught in between, but able to find his way back to the bag.
Yeah, and I'm sure Laverne not too concerned with that run, but based on where that ball was located, Lokar fielding out in front of himself would have been an easy play. Get that one to his catcher. Could have taken that out. Nowhere to get to right there, so might as well keep another run from coming across.
That was Cal Coney making the wise play at third to stay put. Brings up Maddox McDonald. He takes strike one.
Looks like Matt McNaney at the plate. McDonald on deck at the moment.
So Matt McNaney, the catcher from New Mexico, takes a ball. It's that 23 and that 29. You see the back half of it.
Yeah, similar statures. Probably both about 6'2", 6'3", swinging it from the right side of the plate.
McNaney rips this into the gap in right field. Back at the wall, hits it. One run comes across. Here comes another one. McNaney stops at second base. It's a 2 RBI double that makes it 14-4.
Yeah, and this is another ball that carries here in San Antonio. Maybe less so in the jet stream, because if it was, it probably gets out of the ballpark, or at least gives these outfielders a chance to run it down. No, that one, a little bit more of a line drive the opposite direction. He just hit it really hard and bangs it off the base of the wall. Good swing for McNaney. Good cuts from Trinity in this half inning. Add a couple more hits to their total, scratch a couple more runs across.
And now it brings up Maddox McDonald with the runner on second. 2 down in the inning. Hit into left, and this will fall. McNaney comes around third. He'll score. McDonald digging in for second. Throw not in time. An RBI double for Maddox McDonald, 14-5.
And Maddox McDonald sits back on this breaking ball and just rips it into the gap. A couple of balls that have finally found their way down after Laverne, a range that they have in the outfield, kept Trinity off the bases. Runs that might not matter all that much in the end result for this Trinity squad will hopefully carry over and give them some momentum offensively in Game 3 after this is over.
And we'll get a pitching change. 4 runs on the board for the Tigers in the top of the 8th. It's 14-5. A new arm used by the Laverne Leos. It's Mikey Rogizic, the first year from San Clarita, California, coming in into the 8th inning with 2 down. He'll face the shortstop, Cam Champness. Fire strike 1. You saw the numbers for Rogizic on your screen. This is his 6th appearance, has an ERA of 9. He has the opportunity to lower that in this appearance. 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Champness rips this to left field, and the catch is made. Diaz out there in center ends the inning. Good range from these Laverne Leopards as we head to the bottom of the 8th on Tiger Network. Bottom of the 8th, a new pitcher into the game for Trinity. It's a Brandon Morio. Comes in with a high ERA, just 3 2/3 innings pitched, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, a whip over 4, an opportunity to lower those numbers in this appearance. He's trying to collect outs and potentially hold the deficit. First pitch ripped off the glove of Corson Hastings, a fair ball. Digging in for second, and it's a lead-off double for Malachi Francois. Held hitless in yesterday's game. He hit leadoff and was starting. Pinch hit in this game, and he gets the knock.
Yeah, and he's not wasting any time in doing so. Advantage against the lefty and Morio on the mound. First pitch catches a lot of the plate. Really the best time against a new pitcher to swing the bat. This is probably his first offering of the day, just trying to establish himself in the zone. Maybe backfires a little bit right there. Barrel off the bat of Francois.
Brings up another pinch hitter, Jared Benash, making his 30th appearance of the year, hitting .308 coming into this series. Now works with the runner on second and nobody out. Ground ball finds the hole past the glove of Hastings. Francois coming around in safely. And it's 15-5 Laverne.
And I was just about to mention, because I wasn't sure how much longer it would be the case, and of course it is not the case any longer, but coming into this inning with the runs that Trinity was able to put on the board in the 8th, the aggregate score across 2 games was exactly the same. It was 23 runs aside, exactly what we anticipated out of the 13, 14 best teams in the country. Really evenly played baseball so far here in San Antonio.
It's like Champions League aggregate. course, Laverne now winning in the aggregate across 2 games. So if you're Trinity, you would not like that, because in the Champions League, that means you'd be going home. But not the case. Series tied at 1 apiece, you would presume, after all is said and done in this one. Pitch misses from Morio, and it's quickly 3-0. There's a strike down the chute. And we haven't gotten to talk about Brandon Morio in a little bit. He hasn't pitched in some time, but he has a twin brother on the team, James Morio. They came here together, both first years. Pitch misses, ball 4. And if you were wondering, yes, identical twins. It is really hard to tell them apart. I have learned that from experience.
Yeah, in my time, I'm not sure if we've had any twins on the roster. In sports in general, athletic teams not being populated by twins here at Trinity. We called a lot of games, called a lot of sports, but nothing comes to the top of the mind.
There are a lot of twins on campus. I know my suite mate is a twin. And I went to Tiger Takeoff. That's something that's our orientation that we do here at Trinity. There were twins there. So there are twins all over this campus. Just this is first pair that we've seen on a sports team of some kind. But so I go up to one of them. I'm still not sure which one, to be honest. And I say, what's the best way to tell you guys apart? Looks at me and says, good luck. Pitch finds the zone. It's 1-2. So then I ask around. I figure out what's the best way to tell the Morio brothers apart. Apparently, I was not the only one having this issue, naturally. So they make them wear different hats at practice. Pitch gets away from McNaney temporarily, but not enough to move the runner. So Brandon Morio wears a white hat. And James Morio wears a maroon hat. And the acronym to remember them is MJ, or Maroon James. Of course, alluding to MJ Metz, who pitched here, or who hit here on that 2022 World Series team.
I mean, that is one of the big issues. Luxury in game is they have numbers on, but they're both left-handed pitchers. And unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to see James on the bump this season, and dealt with some injuries that just kept him out, nagging that wound up costing him a full first year, unfortunately. But that was one of my questions. It was going to be, how similar were they going to look once they actually got onto the mound? What were their mechanics and their deliveries going to look like? I think that could be fun for you in the future, Cole.
I agree. Pitch in the dirt. Brings the count full. Well, if it's anything like anything else, it will be exactly the same. I can tell you that much. Three-two pitch. There's strike 3. First out of this 9th inning. Or 8th inning, I should say.
And he needed it desperately right there. First runner of the inning already has come across to score. A couple more on base right now. Didn't have an out on the scoreboard up until that one right there. Good backdoor breaking ball. Had the hitter frozen.
Ground ball could be 2. Throw to second for 1. On to first. Safe. And runners at the corners as this inning continues.
Yeah, some defensive changes for this Trinity squad that we've already noted. It's a good flip from Calconi at second. Champness has to get this one on in a hurry. Running fairly well right there. Not sure who that is down at first base for Laverne. Confusion with numbers on my end right now. Guess that's Diaz, isn't it?
Maybe. I think so. Logan Reese at the plate right now, so I believe it is Matthew Diaz. Brandon Morio working through the heart of this Laverne lineup. 1-1 count to Reese. Line sharply, and they go the short way to end the inning. We're through 8 on Tiger Network. Game 2. This series about to be evened by Verne. Welcome back to San Antonio, Texas. Verne 3 outs away from evening this best-of-5 series at 1 apiece. Designated hitter Nick Lazara leads things off for Trinity. Currently getting out hit 12-6 and outscored 15-5. First pitch fouled off by Lazara. Now I usually get to have a small conversation with Nick's dad when I head over to the field, because that's just the route that I take, and we usually stop and exchange pleasantries. And yesterday I asked about the absence of Nick's Bulldogs as he rips one into right field. That's going to find the gap. Lazara digs in for 2, and he gets there easily, a leadoff double. But I asked about the absence of his French Bulldog, Frank, and Nick's dad said that Frank can be here in spirit. Tigers win yesterday. I'm assuming Frank was not in here in spirit today. That's my assumption.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have to get on that, Cole. You're the Frank liaison.
Seems
that
your
unofficial title at this point in time. You have some official titles that maybe are a little weightier than that one, but I think maybe it could get added to your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, it needs some work.
And we talked about it yesterday, right? Tactics for interviewing. You don't want to go the head injury route. You know, I gave you that advice, and you're probably wisely staying away from it, although it does work. Don't fault me. Maybe that one can spark some conversation for you.
You know, that was brought up by the batting cage today.
I'm glad.
I forget exactly how it came up, but somebody said, did you hear about when Luke Terry got hit with the pitch by Harrison Durow? And I said, yes, I've heard about this. We actually talked about it on air yesterday.
Yeah,
so you could say that you've been hit by a professional baseball player with a pitch.
And I lived. I lived to tell the tale. I would share that image with Josh Muchagimba, our producer on Tiger Network, but I think it is a little too grotesque to air, unfortunately.
Hit in the air to center field. Bogold makes the catch. Lazara holds at second, electing not to tag, and there's one down in the 9th.
And a good piece off the bat, of course, in Hastings right there. Unfortunately for him, I think he caught it a little bit too much off the end of that bat. Easy pop-up for what has been a very impressive outfield, very impressive 9 defenders in the field all over the place. Everyone has done their job so far.
Brings up the second baseman, Cal Coney. Talked about it a little bit yesterday, one of a few California locals getting into the game against an LA squad. 1-0 pitch. In the dirt, ball 2. Of course, we've mentioned it throughout the day. Lots of other regional action happening across the country. We're keeping up to date on that series in Cleveland. Seeing how Case Western does, seeing who advances, if not them. Of course, I believe last we checked, Case Western was down in their winners bracket, right?
Yeah, pretty late in that ball game. Last scoreline I saw was 5-0 Lynchburg. Also a weird aspect of those 4-game regionals. In the winners game, I believe it's the lower seed that has moved on that plays as the home team.
Yes.
So odd. Don't know why that's the case.
That was the same thing in the SCAC tournament.
I mean,
Trinity was able to be walked off by Centenary because they were the 1 seed. They lose their first game. All of a sudden, they're the road team the rest of the way until somebody else loses.
Well, this is the winners bracket. This is 1-0, 1-0. The home team, number 1 seed, Case Western, in their own regional, moved on to game 2.
Yeah.
And then they're the away team. It is weird when you are like playing back in. You've already lost a game, but you've won back in. It's just so much to keep track of, frankly. But, even moral of the story, main point we're getting around to, Lynchburg looks like they will move to be the 2-0 team in case Western's going to have to win back in. That's just one of many scores. Claremont Mud Scripps looks like they're taking care of business against Centenary and Marshall, Texas. They should survive in advance in the 0-1 ball game.
Coney grounds that foul on a 3-2 pitch. For the defending national champions, hard at work. I feel like that's important to note for people who don't know. Talk about the heart of a champion. I guess you're seeing it there.
Yeah, and some pretty major departures on that Lynchburg roster, but it is a team and a program that has been really, really good over the last several years.
Pitch gets away, and the runner takes third easily. Did not take that hop. Actually got stuck in between the netting and the top of the backstop. I have never seen that before.
I was about to say.
Because it did not hop. We saw it yesterday. To the benefit of Trinity, a bad hop off that backstop off a wild pitch. But caught too much air.
Yeah, kind of weird circumstance there, too. I think there's another defensive change, the same one that was made yesterday. Maybe not the same one that was made yesterday, but nevertheless, replacement at catcher, Matt Rice, who we talked about earlier, is in there defensively. You know, that's a ball that's, you know, technically out of play, kind of, right? If you throw your hands up, it becomes out of play, and I think a ground rule double, right? He didn't do that. He just picked it up because it was right in his line of sight. Could pry it out of that position pretty easily. For that reason, runner stays at third and runner stays at first.
Max Milligan up to the plate. 1-0 pitch. Down the chute, strike 1. Laverne trying to collect the final 2 outs, send this series to 1 apiece. Somewhat of a role reversal from what we saw in yesterday's game. An 18-9 Tiger victory where Laverne got some runs back to make that more competitive than it was. And that's saying something considering it was already a 9-run game, and the Tigers are doing the same thing. This was a 13-run game at one point.
Yeah, things certainly were a little slower out of the gates. No runs in that first inning, whereas yesterday we had 9. And really the onslaught started in those middle 3 innings, 8 in the bottom of the 4th for Laverne. It's been the last 2 frames where Trinity's done their damage.
Milligan hits that to left, and that will tie the aggregate score.
Yeah, small victories in this game, certainly. And maybe above and beyond that aggregate score is the fact that Trinity is doing exactly like what you just said, Cole. Yesterday, Laverne really got going in the back half of that game. Tigers offensively are swinging it really, really well right now. And you never really know. Laverne had to wait a game, wait a day. Right? They slept that one off last night and came back. Trinity's going to have the opportunity to jump right into game 2 of this doubleheader.
The base hit brings up Kai Tinker takes ball one. He's got runners at first and second with one down in the ninth. The other thing we talked about yesterday that maybe factored in was that Laverne had a whole week off. I'm sorry, Trinity had a whole week off. They were rested, ready to go. Laverne maybe needed to settle back into this game a little bit. Seemed to do that, and now Trinity seems to be bouncing back as well. It's been 2 games, a lot of ebbs and flows. And I think deservingly so, it's 1-1.
I think one thing that needs to be said is that the losing team in both of these games has put up a very, very impressive effort that I think better than half the time probably wins you a game at this level of baseball. It's just that it's been outlier performances on the other end. The winners in both of these games have been absolutely fantastic from an offensive perspective.
Called strike, makes it 2-2. Probably the biggest difference, though, and this maybe gives Laverne a slight advantage in the series, is that Laverne didn't use a lot of pitchers that they're going to rely on in game 1 of that series, whereas Joseph Shavana, you would think now an asset burned in terms of pitching and that staff being able to help contribute to a series victory. Strike 3 down the chute. Tinker goes looking. He's going to have some words with the umpire, a calm exchange, and he'll head back to the dugout without number 2.
Yeah, a pretty tame conversation. Fifth-year senior and Kai Tinker can keep his composure. No, we are behind home plate, off to the side just a little bit, but on top of the roof of the Bell Center here in San Antonio. So can't tell as well with the verticality of pitches. Can kind of base it off the framing job. Matt Rice certainly seemed to catch one at the bottom of the zone. But with those especially down, it's really hard to tell whether or not it catches the bottom of that area.
Strikeout brings up Pierce Matthews. His third at-bat of the day was a substitution about the middle of this game. Ball gets away for a second. Throw to second. Not in time. And both runners advance.
It's a good job by Rice behind the plate. Kept this one in the vicinity. No, maybe a late jump from first. Real nice throw down for a guy that runs really well, and Max Milligan to make that play much closer than I would have anticipated.
And a quick meeting. Coach, catcher, and pitcher all getting together on the mound. So, Luke, if you were wondering, our off-air bet, both lost. It's past 2 o'clock. We both took the under on when this game would finish, and we both lost.
Yeah, there's been a few more changes than I would have anticipated. And yeah, the run scoring has not ceased for Laverne. They have scored in every frame outside of the first 2. For Trinity, big spot in the 8th, cricket number, 4 runs. Not enough to get them truly back in this ball game, but enough to slow things down a little bit.
Wind starting to pick up from left field as Matthews digs into a 2-1 count. Runners at second and third. Fouled back in the screen, and it's even at 2-2.
Yeah, and a good job out of Rogizic on the mound right now. Falling behind 2-0. With first base open, would have been really easy to kind of just give in, give that free pass, but no. It's a Laverne team that's just fought all series long, just 2 games in. And even despite that 16-0 hole they were in yesterday, they fought all the way. Come back and likely will even this series. It's like a 99.9% certainty at this point. It's one of those trackers on ESPN.
We don't have an official probability counter like that, but, you know, we can give you a verbal one there. Matthews fouls this towards the Laverne bullpen and out of play. Yeah, I'd say 99.9 and a couple more 9s is probably the way to go with that.
Yeah, definitely several more 9s after that decimal point.
3-2 pitch, 2 down. Strike 3 down the chute. Game 3 to the Leos.
And what a bounce back performance for the University of Laverne. You know, Cole, I can't say I'm entirely surprised considering the way that the offense really got going in the back half of game 1 yesterday. It stayed hot, right? And Joseph Shavana on the mound for Trinity, you imagine that would quiet it a little bit, and he did for the early portion of this game. And then a home run ball snuck out of the yard and carried in that jet stream. You know, that truly seemed to be a turning point in this one. You know, shook this Trinity team up a little bit, and Laverne really put their heads down. They didn't look back once they grabbed that lead, poured it on in the 4th, and really put things out of reach.
Laverne takes game 2 from the Tigers, and they force a game 3. That will be a 1-1 tie. Winner of that game 3 can take the series in game 4. First pitch will be in 45 minutes from the end of this game, so let's start the clock right now. And it should be a lot of fun. I would expect these games in the future to not be routes. Series tied 1 apiece. Game 3 coming up on Tiger Network in 45 minutes. We hope you enjoyed game 2. Laverne takes it 15-6 and evens the series. For everyone in San Antonio who worked in this hot summer day, Reed Rosales, our executive producer, Josh Michigemba, for my partner Luke Terry, I'm Cole Isaacson saying so long. Stay tuned for game 3.